I'm a big fan of wrestling. I want to be able to go to all these things, but they do need to consider that not everybody can afford all these things. And I think, like you said it best, I thought it too, is it's not going to affect this year. And I had a conversation with my dad about it too. I'm like, cause he's like, I'm like, yeah, man, they did great. They had a lot of people. And he's like, yeah, but will they next year? You know, like
your dad's right. Your dad's right.
I think that's something they need to consider.
I go back to Vince all the time, and I know people have their opinions about him and all this kind of stuff. But as you get a little farther, you've seen him. He showed up at the Super Bowl. He showed up at Madison Square Garden, and there wasn't that vitriol that I think people expected. The one thing he always taught me and us, Shane, is that it's about the family. It's about the fans. And he would never have put Bret Hart and Stone Cold out on the stage and then given himself his own music and entrance. It was never about him. Sure. It was about the fan base. And so to see them do what they did, I can only imagine his reaction to that. But you see all these executives on CNBC going, and this is a direct quote from Mark Shapiro. He's the CFO. He's like, we're selling out so fast, our shows, that clearly we're not charging enough for our tickets. Can you imagine a CFO saying that?
I think he said it. You know, despite anyone's or my personal opinion on Vince, I think that obviously, there was a lot of brilliance with that man, clearly. And I think that even an example is I'm watching WrestleMania this year. I one thing I get, but I'm not as big a fan of, is the advertisements on the ring. I think what that immediately tells people is like, the one thing we're looking at first and foremost is the ring, and you're slapping it with ads all over the place. You're immediately telling us this isn't about the wrestling, it's about the money. And the moment you start doing that too much, you start to lose the magic and the aura, and people, I worry, like you said, over time are going to start like pulling back a bit, because they're like, this isn't about us anymore. This is about just making as much money as possible, which, you know, you see starting to happen in many aspects of entertainment and how it's affecting entertainment. Like I'm out here in Los Angeles, and the entertainment business has never struggled more, because you do have a lot of these like money hungry CEOs that are making decisions not based on, let's not make a good movie. Let's make a movie that checks all the boxes. Does it have a major star? Is it an Avengers type movie? All these boxes, we're going to check all the boxes without answering the first question of, is it a good movie? Like, you know, I think that should be on top of everything. And in wrestling especially, is like, is the story good? Are we servicing the fans? And then let's think about how we can make the most money possible. But going back to ticket prices, you got to answer those two questions first. I think that you got to take care of the fans, because I worry that if the trend starts continuing in this direction of, it's not been getting cheaper, it's getting more and more expensive, and they're throwing more and more events at us. And granted, you don't have to go to everything, but like, you know, I do think that is something they really need to consider before it's too late.
I'm so glad you said that about being good first. I think in any industry, because I hate the check the boxes thing. People have asked me all the time, Coach, would you accept a Hall of Fame nomination? And I said, first of all, there's not a brick and mortar Hall of Fame. It's just a made up night on a Friday night.
It's in our heart, Coach.
Yeah, I know. But then I say, look at some of the people that have been inducted without naming names, because I do feel like I don't want to disrespect the guys. They've got the rings, the Booker T's and the Dudley boys, and they've earned that. But you have, for example, this weekend, there were some that you're like, really? And to me, they're checking a box. All right, we've got to have a female. We got to have a tag team. We got to have this. And then when they didn't have enough star power, they created a Hall of Fame match now so we can get Bret Hart and Stone Cold Steve Austin. So it's almost like they're still putting together a show in what should be just, you've earned it, come out here, congratulations. So they're even manipulating that, in my opinion. That's why I don't think I would ever accept, not that they would ever give it to me.
Sure.
But,
I totally get where you're coming from. I've always thought, like, how have they not run out of, I mean, inevitably everyone's going to have a ring, so it doesn't really mean that much, because they they have to have people every year. I'm glad they're scaling back. There were years, I know you remember, where it was just like, man, there's like 10 people they've inducted. Like,
the first year they brought it back, it was when we were in New York. It was like 2009 or 10, and they had 13 people, and I think it was superstar Billy Graham, and it was not on TV. So the first speech, he spoke for 34 minutes.
oh my
So what do you think the other 12 people thought? Oh, I can speak for 30 minutes too. We didn't walk out of there till it started at 7. We didn't walk out of there till 2:00 in the morning.
Oh my
It
God.
was brutal. 7 hours, 13 guys. Absolutely bananas. Then you have the other end of the spectrum. Do you remember the year that Hulk Hogan got inducted?
Uh-huh.
So that was on TV. So I was the voiceover guy. So I was like, coming up next, so-and-so, so-and-so. So Sly Stallone is supposed to induct him. And Vince is sitting right next to me at that little table in the back with my microphone. And every break, he's like, Coach, where's Sly? Where's Sly? Vince, I don't know Sylvester Stallone. I don't know where the hell he is. So we get to the break right before Hogan's going in. I kid you not, Shane. And all of a sudden, Vince is pissed. Where the is Sylvester Stallone? All of a sudden, the limo, we were at one of those stages, Universal, whatever.
Uh-huh.
And Sly rolls up. Vince turns on a dime. Sly, my dog, all of a sudden, they're best friends. He goes, get out there. Sly's like, where's my teleprompter? And I was like, we don't use teleprompters. I think that's how I got so good on the mic, because we've never used teleprompters. So he didn't have a speech. It was the best speech I've ever heard for an inductor. He just went out there and spoke from the heart.
Wow. Yeah.
But he didn't show up till the commercial break right before
That's
he was to walk
wild.
away.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Nobody does because we mask it. We cover it up. And that's the one thing I felt like we did better than anybody else. You just never know, which is why I don't like the new show they're going to come out with. But that's not my call.